05. This incident occurred on May 1st on State Route 12 in Muhlenberg Township, Berks County. The excavator, Bruce and Mary Lee's Electric, struck a telecommunications conduit while performing work for PennDOT. The conduit is believed to be owned by Verizon, since the only other telecommunications company listed on the excavation ticket responded clear no facilities in Carl. According to the excavator's AVR, the conduit was 300 feet from the nearest markings. However, two of the excavator's photos show markouts in close proximity to the site where Bruce and Mary Lee's Electric was using a mini excavator. And here's a photograph that you can see. I'm going to point out the markouts to you because they're very difficult to see on the screen, but you can see that there are orange or possibly faded red marks in the dirt very close to the trench and actually leading into the trench. Staff recommends that the DPC order Bruce and Mary Lee's Electric to pay an administrative penalty of $1,000 for violating Section 5, Paragraph 4 of Act 50 by failing to excavate prudently within the tolerance zone. Are there any representatives from Verizon? Are there any representatives from Bruce and Mary Lee's Electric? Would you like to come to the podium?
Would you please state your name and position with the company?
My name is John Farrar. I'm safety specialist for Bruce and Mary Lee's. I handle the eastern half of our company from Harrisburg east through New York, Maryland, and Virginia. At the time of the incident, I was en route to see this crew. And if you look at all the other pictures, you will see that there is absolutely no marks anywhere in this. This was a random spot where we had a little bit of paint. We hand dug down and found nothing. So we then proceeded to excavate to put our pole in. The only marks that we were ever able to find were outside of the tolerance zone, outside of even where we had marked stuff in for where we would be digging. The only marks we were ever able to find when we walked the site were about 300 feet away down at the driveways. Part of my crews have been trained, and I have the documentation here of where we did it with all our crews and the paperwork that we did, is that if they find anything that resembles a mark or anything that resembles a getaway, a gas main, or anything, they are to call the PU and call immediately and get a remark. I see the painting that you're seeing there. I have been told by my crew that that painting was stuff that they put in there so that they would know where it is. I understand that it should be white, and I apologize for that. We will get that. We had that corrected, and we had that discussion with our crew. Evidently, at the time, the white paint they had did not work. They grabbed the red, they put it down so that the markers would know where it is. At the same time, I have a representative from AT&T who came out at the time to show the markings and stated to my foreman that he did not mark 31 feet off the road because he did not think we would be back that far. So if we're not marking the line, how my guys are supposed to be able to know where it is?
Whose facility was this? Was it AT&T or Verizon?
It was a Verizon line rented by AT&T.
And it's your position that your company put the red marks down?
Yes, sir.
On the site?
Yes, sir. My foreman, Tim McGlynn, his can of white paint was not working. He reached in the truck, grabbed the next can, so he would tell his guys where it was when they got up there the next week.
You also mentioned you hand-dug that area, didn't find any facilities.
Correct, sir.
With no markings, my initial thought is you look to do a re-notify. If you didn't find anything, but there was nothing marked.
There was nothing marked, but we always dig the first couple feet just to make sure that there was nothing there. We didn't find anything in the area, so that we turn around and then excavated to be able to put the pole in.
Okay, so what were the red marks that your folks put down?
We put it down so that our foreman goes ahead of our crews so they know where they're supposed to put the poles down.
So the red mark wasn't designating a facility?
No, sir.
It was a dig area. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have two questions. Number one, the pole that is shown in this picture, you installed that pole?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In previous pictures, there were a number of white markings. Were they yours or someone else's?
We put white markings down on the road so that it was easier for, if the rain came, because it's been a very wet year, that they would not wash away.
Did you mark the other bounds of the excavation?
The bar bounds, yes, we did.
There are no pictures of those?
Unfortunately, with the rain, those pictures don't show anything.
Any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do
Victor?
have a question. Is it standard practice that you would have, just happen to have red or communication color paint in a truck and mark that out?
It is not common practice. I don't know where this red can came from. Our trucks only have white on them. I don't know if he picked it up for another operation that he was doing, but we did remove it from the truck, and the guys are getting spot checked now going forward to make sure that there are no other colors on their trucks.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a representative for PennDOT?
Please state your name and position with PennDOT.
All right. My name is Larry Diddy. I am the Chief Utility Relocation Administrator for PennDOT. I'd like to just mention a few things, is that as the project owner, we know that the damage prevention and completing the alleged violation reports is very important. We are educating our staff through winter schools, and we are developing policy for the contractors to notify PennDOT immediately after a line is hit. And we are encouraging the contractors to follow the 811 safety dig practice on all construction projects.
Any questions for PennDOT? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, I have no reason to believe, not to believe the gentleman as he portrayed the evidence, so I would make a motion to waive that fine. I would second that.
Any discussion?
Jim, just to understand your motion, you believe that the incident and the infraction should stand, but the fine should be waived.
No, the infraction should be waived also. I think he followed his, the means and methods as spelled out by the law.
From a discussion standpoint, I would suggest that when the excavator identified there were no markings down, that they should have re-notified that ticket at that point in time. If I think to JT's point, I think the 5.4 stands. I agree with Mr. Dacey on relieving the fine based on the actions taken and the educational things that were done by the excavator after the fact.
I think one other thing, and this is going to come up in future cases, is the necessary, the potholing and not digging, not using mechanical methods in tolerance zone. Common Ground Alliance will allow us, as excavators, any of us, to use mechanical methods to remove blacktop frost in that regard. So as the investigators investigate this stuff, please understand that the law allows us to use mechanical means to strip blacktop, and even in a potholing situation, not in this case, but in a road, they would use jackhammers or saws to open their initial hole if it was in blacktop. So just as a point of clarification, I think we need to know that going forward.
Mr. Dacey, so I'm clear on your motion. Your motion is, do you want to waive the violation? Are you still okay with the violation?
I mean, if he went there and didn't see any, the marks weren't there, and he dug around at the pole to look for a line, I think he did his due diligence and used his prudent measures. I mean, just because there's no marks, I don't know why he has to make a re-notification. I mean, if there's evidence that there's lines there, then yes, but just because there's no lines there, we're always talking about re-notifying. If he doesn't have any evidence that there's any lines where he plans his excavation or where he plans the pole, I don't see the reason for him to re-notify. So I would make a motion that he did not fail to exercise due care and waive the 5-4.
I would request that Mr. Dacey consider waiving the 5.4 violation and the fine, but adding a 5.20, the re-notification prior to excavation beginning on the job site. I think that's what we're really talking about here. When you show up on a job site, you've done your white mark outs, there's no assets marked when you show up there, you know in your ticket and your call response that there are facility owners in that area who conflicted that ticket. The 520, which is new in the law as of April of 2018, requires you make that re-notified before beginning excavation. So I think that's where the violation falls, probably in the 520 range.
My comment, if I can, Mr. Shortley, on that is, although there may have been lines that may have been marked and they may have been indicated on a response, Section 520 clearly states that it has to be obvious to the excavator. And if he goes on the site and has his area marked and there's nothing in there and he doesn't feel that there's anything obvious upon his initial site visit, then he doesn't need to call. If he doesn't believe there's anything mismarked or non-marked in there, there's no reason to call. Therefore, I agree with Mr. Dacey on this one.
I think 520, yeah, if it's apparent to the excavator that there is unmarked or incorrectly marked facilities, then yes, he would be required. But if he goes there and he has no reason to believe there are unmarked or mismarked facilities, he can proceed, is the way I'm reading the law.
I understand both the points, and I don't disagree with your points, but I think the premise of what the new law is trying to do is to really push this 520, and you go out there and you assume there's mismarked or unmarked lines based on your call responses, positive responses, that there's an action required out there, or at least a decision point to be made, and I appreciate that it is the excavator's call to make that decision.
Okay, at this point, we have a motion by Mr. Dacey to waive the compliance violation of 5.4 and the penalty. Do I have a second?
I second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
All right, let's do a show of hands. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All opposed? 3. Motion carries. Close one.